Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Viegas here. Welcome to the Fight Up TV live chat and Q&A for this week of October, I think, where are we at right now? October the 9th, something like that. Just going to wait a little bit for you guys to go ahead and log on over here at the channel to get this live chat and Q&A session started. Currently right now, at this time, it's pretty heavy wildfires over here in Southern California. The sky is red. I wish I could take the camera outside and show you guys. The sky's completely red. A lot of ash in the air. It's like fire in the sky. It looks pretty gnarly. Police are trying to contain this fire out in Anaheim Hills. And Anaheim Hills is about 20 minutes away from me. So as I'm watching the news, there you guys go again with the Yoga Flame. So, you know, if there's anybody out there where the canyon fire is happening, stay safe, evacuate if you're advised to evacuate, and just take care of yourselves. Gonna go ahead and got quite a few of you guys on board now. So, sorry, I'm just reading some of your comments. I'm gonna go ahead and start this live chat. There wasn't any fights over the weekend, except the UFC fight that happened. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson defending his belt, breaking Anderson Silva's record, and having the most consecutive title defenses in UFC history at 11. Anderson Silva had held the previous record. He was tied with it at 10. I saw Demetrius fight. That was a crazy finish, man. He was dominating the whole fight. And when he did that finish, I was just kind of like, what the F just happened there? It was something like out of a video game, to be honest. It just came out of nowhere. And you know what? It's funny. I think that what added more to it, too, is when the announcers, Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, saying like, oh, yeah, you know, he's just going through the motions. He's, you know, it'll be a big win for Ray Borg if he were to survive in the last 5 rounds. And then like 10 seconds later, he goes and he submits Ray Borg, which was crazy. It gets me thinking if maybe Demetrius heard them say that and he was like, no, you ain't gonna make it. And he went ahead and did that. Sponsored by Red Bull, by the way. That was a crazy fight, though. Well, no, it wasn't. It was a crazy finish, not a crazy fight. The fight was one-sided, dominant. That Ferguson versus Kevin Lee fight I saw as well. That was an excellent fight. I was favoring Tony Ferguson coming in to that fight. Just when you think you have that guy beat, somehow finds a way to come back and beat you. He just has this crazy resilience to him. So I was favoring him for that. I felt that at some point he'd find a way to win. And I thought he was a little bit more versatile than Kevin Lee and cardio as well. So I watched the fight, and right away, I'm looking at Tony, and this is where I'm going to get it to boxing. Looking at Tony, and I'm seeing when he's fighting, his head is like really, really up. And when at certain points, Kevin Lee was throwing punches at Ferguson, he kind of came in with his head up like that. And I just thought like, oh, okay, that's kind of odd. You know, if you throw a feint against this guy, it's target practice. You throw a feint and you land your combinations on him, you're going to land because his chin's like way up there. Then I started really looking at his style and how he moves and he hey, you know what? Hold on. Hey, RamX27, hold on 1 second. I'll get to that right now. I'm just going to leave with this. I think after watching Ferguson in this fight, because they say you're only as good as your last fight, the style matchup for Conor McGregor favors Conor McGregor in that fight. I think Conor McGregor has a lot of chances to really hurt Ferguson in that fight with feints, which he does throw, with the kicks that he does use. Even though Ferguson's a lot bigger than McGregor, if Ferguson gets McGregor on the ground, I think it's done. I think Ferguson beats him pretty easily, handily, if he gets him to the ground. But that's the thing. I see a lot of opportunities there for Conor McGregor to knock out Tony Ferguson, or at least land a lot of clean punches because of the way Ferguson comes in with his chin up, and you just gotta feint and throw your strikes. Now, it's easier said than done. Ferguson's lanky. The timing's going to be really weird for Conor to adjust. To be honest, he's awkward. It usually takes a while to get someone's timing and rhythm when they're awkward like that. But on the other hand, too, as well, if you're coming in throwing your strikes, and Conor McGregor is a counter striker, and Ferguson does come in, if Conor just waits for the right moment where Ferguson has his hands down, I think you could see him really land some extremely accurate punches in that potential fight. Do I hope that Ferguson and Conor fight instead of Conor and Nate Diaz? I think certainly Ferguson deserves it. I think anybody who's in a position where they fight who they need to fight, and they start knocking off the list, and they get into that position where they're the interim champ, I think they have a right and they do deserve to fight a guy like Conor McGregor. Though I would thoroughly appreciate a third fight with Nate Diaz. It'd be excellent. It would make both Diaz and McGregor a lot of money. It'd make the UFC a lot of money. Another big show. It would probably end up turning out to be a more entertaining fight than a Ferguson fight, given that Nate Diaz will come forward, throw strike. He'll exchange, and he's down with that. He's okay with that. But you got to feel for Ferguson as well. He did, put in the time. He did get the wins that he needed to get, and I agree with him. I think from a fighter's perspective, he should get the next fight at Conor. But from a business perspective, I think the UFC is naturally inclined to make that Diaz matchup because it makes him a lot of money, and it makes sense given that Conor's coming off of the second biggest pay-per-view of all time. They're going to want to capitalize that with another big card. Because Conor got a lot of new fans. Even if you liked him or not, you got to admire Conor for what he does. He has a lot of balls. He has a lot of bravado. He's entertaining. His fights are never boring. So I think they want to capitalize on that and put on a big show with him and show and display. Excuse me. Oh, that sounded gross, huh, man? Sorry, guys. That's what happens when you drink a Red Bull and 2 cookies. It's not good. And chicken. Like I was saying, before I lost my train of thought there, it just makes smart business sense. And I think they want to capitalize on the momentum of that Mayweather fight with another big event where they can get a big pay-per-view eyes. Thing is, though, I'm hearing that McGregor doesn't want to do any press if he does fight Diaz until fight week. Understandable. He wants to concentrate. So, yeah, sugar-free Red Bull. Sugar-free Red Bull right here. But that's my 2 cents. Recapping that, I think Ferguson, McGregor stylistically favors Conor McGregor because he's a counter striker. Ferguson leaves his hands down, puts his chin up. If you feint against Ferguson, feint and then throw your punches, and you throw it in combinations, one of those 3 or 4 punches is going to land, and that's when things get interesting. Things get really interesting in that fight if Ferguson is able to get McGregor, pressure him back, push him against the cage, and then take him down and do the work that he does on the bottom, because having Ferguson either on the top of you or even on the bottom, he's equally as dangerous as bottom, as you can see with the submission, the triangle choke that he got. It's a handful in terms of work. Now, should I touch on if I feel Demetrius Johnson is the GOAT in MMA, or should I transition over to boxing? I'm going to give it a second. What do you guys think? I'm going to let you guys go ahead and answer. I'll let about 15 to 20 seconds. Should I talk about that, or should I talk about boxing? Let's see. I got one for boxing, one for DJ, another for boxing, another for MMA, boxing. All right, boxing's starting to. Oh, wait, boxing. Both. Maybe I should do both. This is what I'll do, you guys. I'll touch on boxing, and then I'll touch back on that, because for me, even though on paper Demetrius is, you can make a case that he's the GOAT, but I still think, to me personally, prime Fedor Emelianenko was the greatest of all time. I'll leave it, though. I'm going to touch on boxing now, and we'll go ahead and get back to that. Drink some water here. The air is really the air sucks right now because of all the fires that are going around, and I got all the windows open, and I have them open because I need light to come in because otherwise this comes out really, really dark. All right, guys, boxing time. All right, send your questions, man. Let's go. Let's get this Q&A started. Who gets the first question answered? Red Fox. Marcos, have you seen the latest news from the WBC with Ortiz? Last I read about it, the WBC did not want to sanction the fight between Wilder and Ortiz for the safety of Ortiz, they said, because if he was going into a fight with high blood pressure, they wanted to make sure that he was even fit to fight. The management sent out a press release saying they actually agreed with the WBC. They felt that it was what was the proper word? They used, I forget, they used some word where they agreed with it, and they thanked the WBC for thinking of Ortiz's health, that they're going to go ahead and get tests done to see if he's okay due to the blood pressure issue and the medicine, and that they were going to look for a Deontay Wilder fight in the next year. In the meantime, the WBC mandated a fight between Ortiz and Deontay Wilder and Bermane Stiverne, which is a rematch. Wilder actually won the world title from Stiverne in Las Vegas. I was there in that fight, and I felt the first fight, honestly, was boring. I thought Stiverne was going to show a lot more, after which the fight was over. In the post-fight press conference, we learned that Stiverne had to go to the hospital because he was severely dehydrated. He said that it affected his performance in the first fight. Honestly, I was giving Stiverne a good shot to beat Wilder in that fight. And Wilder showed a lot in that fight against Stiverne, the first one. He went 12 rounds for the first time. He showed that he has the gas tank to be able to go 12 rounds. And I think he showed a different dimension in that fight as well. So this rematch, Wilder's only gotten better. It's really, where's Stiverne at this point to be able to challenge Deontay Wilder? And I want to see if Deontay Wilder can improve on that first performance that he had against Bermane Stiverne. All right, guys, next question. Let's go. Who's Mikey Garcia going to fight next? Rocky Esposito. Not really sure, man. So what happened with the Mikey Garcia situation was, of course, he wanted to fight with either Linares or Miguel Cotto. Both guys, Linares and Miguel Cotto, are contracted to Golden Boy Promotions. So Golden Boy, I think from what I read, what they offered was, okay, they will give Mikey those 2 fights, but Mikey has to sign a 2-fight agreement with Golden Boy. They wanted an option on Mikey. Mikey was like, no, wait a second, I'm doing pretty well as a freelancer, as an independent contractor. I don't want to go ahead and do that. Why can't I just go ahead and go into these fights? And that's what happened. Now, it's being said that Cotto has chosen Saddam Ali for his final fight in New York. Not sure if it's at MSG or at the Barclays Center, but Saddam Ali is likely to be his last opponent in his career that's seen him fight, who's who of Hall of Famers. Pacquiao, Mosley, Mayweather, Judah, a lot of stuff, a lot of fighters. So Saddam Ali's not that bad of a fighter, to be honest. He's fast. He got pop. Yeah, he lost to Jesse Vargas, but I had him winning that fight before he was caught by Jesse Vargas. So he might end up surprising us quite a bit, to be honest, if Cotto doesn't come in shape or if he's just kind of being lackadaisical because of its last fight. I highly doubt it, though, because it is his last fight. If I were a fighter, I'd want my last fight to be a strong showing because that's the last impression I'm going to leave to fight fans, and I want to win, to be honest. So I expect a good competitive fight from those 2 guys. Let's see. I'm reading your guys' questions, so I'm going to pick a good one here, and then feel free to throw in questions there as well. Izzy, a.k.a. Oh, man. Some of your guys' names are hilarious. Izzy, a.k.a. Mr. Steal Yo Girl. He asked, is Wilder going to man up and fight AJ anytime soon or nah? The plan is for Wilder and Joshua to fight sometime next year in Las Vegas on pay-per-view. That's the plan. Obviously, AJ has this defense with Pulev. Wilder has this fight with Stavern. I have no idea the time frame of when they want to do that. They say, generally speaking, 2018. They want it to happen at some point. I would think that they would want to bring AJ over here for one fight to get him used to the American audience and then go into a pay-per-view fight against Deontay Wilder. But do I see a reluctance on Joshua to fight? And do I see a reluctance on Deontay Wilder to fight Anthony Joshua? No, not at all. Deontay Wilder wants that fight. He's been calling out Anthony Joshua for about 2.5 years now. He wants that fight, and he wants it not only to prove that he's the best, but also to say to you guys, say to the critics, that he's not scared to fight a guy like that, and to finally get the respect that he feels he should have been getting from the very beginning. I know he's had a lot of criticism due to the opponents he's faced in the past. The opponent that he has in front of him is Stavern, that he already beat. So I think that'll shut up a lot of people if he's able to get a win over Anthony Joshua, who's seen to be the best heavyweight there is right now, given that he beat Klitschko, Vladimir Klitschko, the man who beat the man. Tyson Fury was the man who beat the man. So is Tyson Fury the real heavyweight champion in the world right now? What do you guys think? That's a good question. Even though Tyson Fury, man, got that win and then just kind of went wild, just I don't know what happened there. It's a sad case of what could have been. Even though there's still time, he's still young, he could still make a comeback. But he just got to drop the weight and get really focused right here. It's all about right here, guys. This has a lot to do with your success, not only in the ring but in life. You got to have the right mentality, the right attitude, and you got to be focused as well. Burger, did you know 15 minutes with Geico can save you 15% or more on car insurance? Yeah, I did. Geico rips you off, man. Geico is not the lowest car insurance you can get, at least not here in California. Red Fox, I like your YouTube name. So he could still be the lineal champ. You know what? That's an interesting question. He retires. No, well, it all depends on the retirement part. So if he retires and it's official, the lineal title gets relinquished and it's given to the guy who's able to unify or who has more than 2 belts. He becomes the lineal champion. Wilder has the WBC title. Then the title scattered after the free fight with Klitschko. The IBF went to Joshua. And when he fought Klitschko, I would think the consensus right now makes Joshua the lineal champ, but I think you got to unify 2 belts in order to get that to be unified champ and to get that title as well. So I don't know if Tyson Fury gets back. I know in the minds of many fans, he will still be seen as the real heavyweight champion of the world, seeing that he was never beat for the heavyweight title of the world, and he beat Klitschko in his home of Germany in that fight, which was, man, one of the most boring fights I've ever watched in the history of all times. That fight was so atrociously boring. It was terrible. Terrible. The most exciting part of the fight was when he sang to his wife. That was the most entertaining part of that fight. Anything else from that fight was extremely boring. All right, you guys. So what other questions you guys have? Let's see. Frederick Young. So my phone started messing up, but I'm back. Well, welcome back, Frederick. I have a question. I've seen firsthand that you're skilled at boxing. Would you ever do a tutorial video for people new to boxing? Yo, Frederick, how do you know I'm good at boxing, bro? I've been thinking about doing tutorial videos for you guys, how to throw the jab or how to throw a straight or the proper way to do this or that. I just got to find the time to do it, to be honest. Let me know, you guys. Do you guys want to start seeing how-to instructionals or how-to tutorials on boxing and MMA techniques? If you guys want to see that, and there's a lot of you guys that are saying that you want it and you will view the content that we put out there, if we do these how-tos, I will do it. But I just need to see want the demand from you guys in order to get that tutorials going and stuff. So I'm more than willing to do it, but I want to see the demand from you guys and see if you guys want to go ahead and see that kind of content from us. Let's see here. Talk about Rios versus Garcia, please, says Sonteo Media. You know, some of the questions you guys ask are funny. Brandon Rios versus Danny Garcia. I was actually really surprised to hear about that fight. I was thinking that Danny Garcia would fight Sean Porter. Sean Porter was asking for the fight. Sean Porter's fighting Adrian Granado, so I guess that leaves Danny Garcia with some limited options. But I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. You know, it's both guys will come in prepared. Obviously, the favorite's going to be Danny Garcia, given his style. But you know what? Brandon could end up giving him a really, really good competitive fight because Brandon comes forward, put a lot of pressure on him, throw a lot of punches. Though you will expect, because Danny Garcia is a counterpuncher and he's a pretty solid puncher at welterweight, that Brandon Rios, is going to take some punches naturally from a counterpunch. When you have a come forward pressure fighter go up against a counterpuncher ends up flying Gogo Plata. That'd be crazy, right? Counterpuncher versus aggressive fighter. The two styles complement each other, but the advantage goes a little bit more towards the counterpuncher because they're able to slip and land effective punches. It could go 12 rounds. It really depends, too, where Brandon Rios is at this point of his career. I know he took some time off after the Timothy Bradley loss, where he was stopped via body shots. He's back training in Oxnard, has a new trainer. Robert Garcia is back in the fold, though Robert's not Brandon's full trainer. He is overseeing parts of his camp, and he is checking in with them. So it's really dependent on what Brandon has at this point. But it's going to be a good fight. I think they're planning for it to happen sometime in December. So we'll see what happens. But I have no problems with it. Who else is Danny Garcia going to fight? Like, who else that's active right now that you can give him that doesn't have fights or that doesn't have a fight scheduled? Can you give to him right now? You know, there's Louis Collazo, which I wouldn't mind. I'd rather see Brandon Rios against Louis Collazo. I think that'd be great. There's Victor Ortiz. Once again, I'd rather see Brandon Rios against Victor Ortiz. That's another thing. Sammy Vasquez, I don't think they'd want to put Sammy Vasquez in with someone like Danny Garcia. That would not be a good fight after getting knocked out by Collazo the way he did. They'd probably want to build him up. And yeah, he's back with Donald. He is. So Keith Thurman's out of the mix till next year. Spence, they're saying he might fight at the end of December. We'll see. So I think it'll be a good fight. Yeah, it is. It's my pH water right here from Costco. Fucking love it. All right. I saw a question here that piqued my interest. And Ram X27. Marcos, will you ever use cabron in a sentence? The world wants to know. Well, sure, cabron. Why not? All right, guys, keep your questions coming. We got a weekend of fights coming up on the UFC part of things. And then they have that big fight card coming up with the return of GSP. That's going to be interesting. Really interesting to see if George St-Pierre can keep Michael Bisping down. And I want to see, this layoff, what it's done to him, too. And that's the thing. I think the real key to this fight, and I think the fight's going to end up being fought standing up. I got this weird feeling that George is going to be able to take down Michael Bisping. I don't think he's going to be able to hold him down because Bisping has excellent takedown defense, man. If you get him on the ground, and if you're able to get him on the ground, he's so slippery and wiggly, he gets back up right away. And that's one thing I've always liked about Michael Bisping. He always finds a way to get up after a takedown. GSP will take you down, but Bisping will get right back up, and then it turns into a stand-up fight. Who's the bigger guy, Bisping. Who has a longer reach? Bisping. Who's more versatile, more naturally, the movement is more fluid. I think Bisping is. George is kind of stiff. Great jab, but he's kind of stiff. And even then, I don't know if he'll have the speed advantage in this fight. And usually, when you're a smaller guy moving up in weight, that's a really big advantage to have against a bigger guy is being able to use your speed against him. And with this fight, I don't know, man. Bisping's pretty fluid on his feet. He's pretty fluid for his weight class with his strikes and his kicks. So it's an interesting matchup. Very interesting matchup. I want to see what GSP got at this point. Yeah, so I'll break it down. I'm actually having to do research on the fight card that's happening this weekend at the StubHub for Fox. Hold up. I got a quick question. Again, Ramex, man, another one of your questions. No one has heard from, I can't even pronounce that guy's name, Kurtsidis, since he was locked up. Would you conduct a jailhouse interview with him? He was replaced by Monroe to fight Saunders. Ramex 27. Where the heck is he? Like, where in jail is he? Like, that's what and you know what? I don't even know if I want to get anywhere close to that, to be honest, because I read the affiliations and I don't even know if I want to be anywhere close to anything to do with that. It'd be hilarious, though, to do a jailhouse interview. I'd be up to do it just for the experience, but where is he locked up at? I don't even know where he's locked up at. Izzy, a.k.a. Mr. Steel Girl, says, really interested to see GSP's boxing with Freddie Roach in his corner. Yeah, this is the first time Freddie Roach will be at his corner finally. I know that Freddie's been talking to George about being in his corner. No, the other way around. George has been trying to get Freddie to work his corner for years now, years and years now. But every time George would have a fight schedule, either Freddie had to be with Manny, with Miguel Cotto, with Chavez Jr. He always had a fighter and a big name fighter that he had to be in the corner with. So that prevented him from being in George's corner. Finally, the schedule's cleared. Freddie Roach has been going to Montreal to help out George with his stand-up. And Freddie Roach will be in the corner. He'll be there with Faraz Zahabi and I think Greg Jackson. Wow, man, that's like a dream corner right there. Geez, imagine to pick the brains of those three guys in a fight. You got all your bases covered. You got your ground, your jiu-jitsu, and your boxing. That's like a dream. That's a dream team, man. I'd love to have those three guys in my corner. But it'll be interesting to see what new surprises that George has in this title fight with Michael Bisping. There's a lot of questions. He spent a lot of time. The other question is too, I want to ask him. He spent 3 years away of his prime, just away. Does he regret spending those 3 years away, or does he ever feel like he has to make up for lost time because he spent those 3 years away? Because those were prime years of George's career. That was when George was at the peak of his physical powers, and he stepped away for his reasons, and now he's coming back. So that's another question that I'd like to ask George if I ever get a chance to talk to him again. He's in a cell with Chapo. Who knows, man? Do you know if Robert Garcia will be in Aldo's corner for his next fight? Not really sure. I don't know. Kyle Price says Bisping can't be George St. Pierre. We'll see, man. It's an interesting matchup. A good big guy beats a good little guy, but if the little guy's a special little guy, he beats the good big guy any day of the week. Namesy, who will Errol Spence Jr. fight next? Any rumors? I have not heard anything on the Errol Spence Jr. front. I had heard that he was supposed to be on the schedule to fight by the end of this year, and that it was potentially going to be in his home state of Texas. But I haven't heard anything since then, to be honest. So I have no idea who or when, if he is going to fight by the end of this year in 2017. Damn, I'm still in 2016. I was about to say 2016. Kyle Price, Dan Woods Bisping, he didn't win that fight, and George is way better fighter. I'll agree with you. Yeah, he got a BS decision there. Red Fox, heard it was Peter. Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, excuse me, guys. I did hear about that. Lamont Peterson and Errol Spence is a rumored fight to be happening in December. I apologize. That kind of just went over my head. I forgot about that. Who do you think would win, Gozvidek or Kovalev? Depends where Kovalev is at this point in his career mentally. You know, it's always a very, what's the right word? A cautious situation to be in as an observer when you're seeing a fighter coming from a devastating loss or a devastating knockout loss. Kovalev, of course, was stopped by Andre Ward. Andre Ward then went on to retire. And it's really, you want to see where that guy is mentally. If that confidence is still there, or if there's a break, a mental lapse in his self-belief, in his confidence, that's going to continue to be a theme at this point of their career. And really, that's the big question, I think, with Kovalev. Does he have still that unshakable self-belief, that unshakable self-confidence that no one can hurt him, no one can touch him, and that he just mows through people? That's really the real question at this for Sergey Kovalev at this point. So I'm interested to see. He has a fight with Shabransky. I expect him to beat Shabransky very easily, to be honest. But we'll see, you know, because if there is mental lapses there, if he's not the same Kovalev, it's going to show up. If not on this fight, it's going to show up against somebody who's at that elite level, the same as him. The one asked, what do I think about the Postol versus Prograis fight? When is it going to happen? I think it's an excellent fight. I like Regis Prograis. That guy's legit. He has a good personality. He's well-spoken. He's exciting in the ring. I am a fan of Regis Prograis, the Rigaroo, which means werewolf, I believe, in French, against Postol. That's a tough fight for Postol to come back to be honest. I'm very surprised that if they do go ahead with the fight, I'm going to be very surprised because that's a really, really tough fight for Postol to come back to. I would have had a few tune-ups and then got into a fight like that. But you got to give props to Postol. He wants to challenge himself. We actually got a few videos up with Prograis and Postol talking about a potential fight with each other. Both guys actually want a fight with Terrence Crawford. Postol, of course, lost his unification fight to Crawford in Las Vegas. I want to say a year or more than a year and a half back. I was there at that fight. Was extremely impressed by Terrence Crawford. I thought it was going to be a closer fight, to be honest. And Crawford just from around the third round just took off and became dominant in the fight. Prograis just beat Diaz Jr. in a huge upset. He showed he has a lot of power, knocked him out, I believe. So it's a good fight. I think style-wise, you got to think, does Postol have the power to keep Prograis away from him, to respect his power and his punches? That's the real question there. If Postol can garner that respect from Prograis and keep him off with the jab and slip the two, because Prograis going to come forward, jab, jab, slip the two, jab, move around. He can end up outboxing Prograis and getting a decision. But if Prograis doesn't respect that power, he's just going to come and rush Postol, and he can end up catching him. All right, guys. What other questions do you guys have? Kyle Price asks, do you think Erickson Lubin is taking this fight with Jermell Charlo too soon? I think so. Another thing, I was surprised that they put him in there against Mel. It's a big experience difference on paper, given the fights that Mel has had compared to Lubin. Lubin's never Red Fox. No, I haven't seen the trailer of Metal Gear Survive. I've seen the old trailer and I've seen gameplay footage, but I haven't seen the new trailer of Metal Gear Survive. Back to Lubin and Charlo. Surprised because of the experience gap. Take it easy, Ramex. Appreciate you tuning in and interacting with us, man. Really appreciate it. That fight is either going to show one or two things. It's going to show that it's way too early for someone like Erickson Lubin to take a fight with Charlo, and it's just really the experience of Charlo really takes over the fight. Or we're going to see what people have been saying about Lubin since he started out in the game, that he really is a really special fighter, and he has something in him, and he has the skills that is going to show that he's going to be someone really special to look at for years to come. And if he has any of that, we're going to see it in this fight because it takes someone of the skills of Jermell Charlo to bring that out of someone too as well, bring that special skill rising to the occasion. So it's going to be one or two things. It's going to be Lubin's coming out party, and it's going to show the world that he is in fact not hype. He's the real deal, and he really is a special fighter. Or the experience is just going to be too much for someone like Jermell Charlo to go up against Erickson Lubin. I heard Lubin got dropped by Norberto Gonzalez. I can't find any footage of that. Go to his box rec. It'll tell you in his box rec if he's been knocked down or not. Lampley just signed a 5-year deal with HBO. It turns out HBO is still in the game. Well, yeah, they televise fights. They're watch with this Daniel Jacobs thing. They're gonna make a real push to start signing other fighters. They had kind of like a budget hold because of what was going on with the, I believe the Time Warner being sold to Verizon, something like that, where their budget they didn't have a lot of leeway there to be able to and get fights as well. So they got to spend the money now, So they're gonna go, I think, aggressively for fighters. All right, let's see here. Kyle Price, very true. Good observation. Do you think Grove can beat Eubanks Jr.? I wish more top fighters would do tournaments, and I do too, because I think the tournaments, what they've done for the fighters that have won the tournaments is they've made them into stars. It's grown their fan base. It's made them get opportunities they would not normally get if they not enter the tournament from TV networks. So if you're a fighter and you're entering a tournament, it's a win-win. You're challenging yourself, you're fighting the best, and you're getting a lot more press than what you would normally get. And you're not avoiding fighters. When you're done with the tournament, if you win, you could say, you know what, I fought and beat the best of the best, and you can't deny that from me. Abner Mars went through the super bantamweight tournament. Andre Ward went through the super middleweight tournament. So I'm a fan of tournaments. I wish they would do one-night tournaments, Pride style. I think that would be freaking awesome. But you can't do that. I think there's some weird, not weird, but there's a clause in the commission where if you do a one-night tournament, you can't fight no more than 2 rounds for MMA, and you can't fight it's something weird where you can't fight over a certain time limit, or due to medical reasons, they won't let you fight another fight. So I would love to see one-night tournaments in boxing, though. I think that'd be awesome. But back to, can Groves beat Eubanks Jr. or vice versa? I favor Eubanks Jr. in the fight, man. He's in his moment right now. He's young. He's in his physical prime. He just came off a very impressive performance against that Turkish fighter. Knocked him out. Knocked him to hell. Jesus. When he landed that hook and he just stood over there, I just felt like, damn. Like, I felt like it was an episode of Dragon Ball when you, like, hit the last punch and then you're, like, standing over there and, like, the fucking fireball, like, comes out from you. You're like, ah! And, like, all that the key blast happens. So that's what reminded me when I saw Eubank doing that. But I think, you know, at this point, Eubank Jr. might be a little bit too much for George Groves, even though they're practically the same age. Because Groves has been through a lot of wars, a lot of mileage, been knocked out twice by Carl Froch. He's just been through a lot of battles. And Eubank Jr. hasn't had just the wars that that Groves has had. So, you know, and that's not even that. When you take that, even if you were to take that away from the equation, okay, Eubank still has the power advantage, the speed advantage, the technique advantage. So he has a lot of things that are going for him in that fight. So I favor Eubank to beat Groves. Excuse me, guys. Dang, man. That's what happens when you eat spicy food. Apologize. But I favor Eubank there. But saying Caleb Smith, Eubank Jr. is going to be the final. What do you guys think about that fight? I don't know a lot, to be honest, of Caleb Smith. I know he's the better of the two other brothers, from what I've heard from people in the know, but I've never seen him fight. I saw little snippets of his fight against Skoglund, but I always had questions about Skoglund because he never fought anybody good, and Kalen was the first guy he actually fought that was good. So let's see here. I funny guy. This guy's handle right here says "I love penis." That's uh, that's cool. Not gonna judge you, man. Not gonna judge you. What do you think about Vitaly possibly coming back to get revenge for his brother? Because he said that anyone that beat Vladimir, he always got revenge, vice versa, against Anthony Joshua. So it was actually us that had that video of Vitaly talking about wanting to get revenge for his brother. And I think the English media outlets, excuse me, kind of misinterpreted Vitaly's quote. And you could watch the interview. We have it on Fight Hub, youtube.com/Fight Hub. By the way, if you guys are watching right now, go ahead and follow us on our social media at Fight Hub TV on Twitter and Instagram, and at Hey It's Marcos V on Twitter and Instagram as well. So this Vitaly story that circulated where he said that he wants to get revenge on Anthony Joshua, all these websites started quoting our video that we did with Vitaly, and they ran off with the quote. I think they took it out of context, because if you listen to the interview, he says, Vitaly, that he would like to get revenge for his brother, that he always got revenge for his brother, or vice versa, against opponents, and that he has a feeling if he got back inside the ring that he would knock out Anthony Joshua. And I think if that was Vitaly in there with Joshua during that fifth or sixth round, in which Vladimir just crouched down, had that jab, and boom, hit Joshua. If that was Vitaly would have finished him off. Vitaly had so much more of a killer instinct than his brother. I always felt that his brother always played it safe, you know? And his final fight, the one thing that always was a criticism of Vladimir Klitschko was the one thing that cost him probably one of the most important fights of his career. And it was him taking not enough risk. He didn't risk. And Vitaly says that he feels if he were to step into a ring, he would beat Anthony Joshua. And he also feels guilt because he's the reason why Vladimir did not go ahead and finish off Anthony Joshua, because he told Vladimir, hey, be calm. You know, this guy's going to gas out. Look how much muscle he has. He's going to gas out. And Vitaly was not expecting Joshua to get his second win and make it into the 11th round. He really felt that he was going to gas out. But here's the important thing. This is what all these outlets, these papers didn't quote, and they took out of context. Vitaly said all that, but then he said, look at my present situation. I'd love to come back to boxing, but I can't. I just can't. I'm not able to, because he's the mayor of Kiev. He has responsibilities that he has to take care of, and he can't come in. So I don't think we'll see that as long as he's the mayor of Kiev. I don't know how long the terms are for being mayor, but even then, even if it's 2 years from now, even if it's 1 year from now, Vitaly hasn't boxed in like 6-7 years. So, and he's going up against a guy who's been active, who's young, who's in his prime. You know what? He's not even in his, I don't even think he's in his physical prime yet. You know, he's just about to hit that peak of him getting in his physical prime, but I don't even think he's in his prime yet. He's not even close to tapping into his full potential. He's only like halfway there at this point. So the cards would be extremely stacked against Vitaly. And the other thing too, Vitaly always keeping his hands down. Yeah, he's an inch taller than Joshua, a little bit longer reach than Joshua, but I just, with Joshua being so compact and technical, I can see Vitaly getting caught with a lot of punches. Though Vitaly's always had an iron chin along with the iron fist. It's a good little pun there, huh? Thinking today's my day. All right, some more questions before we go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Cotto versus Lemieux. I would really like to see that fight. I would have preferred that fight than the Saddam Ali fight, to be honest. But For your last fight, though, honestly, man, I wouldn't even pick Lemieux to fight in my last fight, man. That's a tough fight. You're gonna have a guy who's bigger than you, who punches harder than you, who's gonna be able to take your punch really well. I would not like to take that fight as my last fight. It's like if I were fighting my last fight, I wouldn't want it to be a super easy fight, but I also don't want it to be a life and death fight. It's my last damn fight. You know, let me go out on top and win. So even though it would have been a tremendous fight, both guys come forward. Though I think Lemieux, just big, man. He's super huge compared to Miguel Cotto. I don't think Miguel's Cotto punches, at least to here, would have done anything. If Miguel Cotto would have focused on the body work, I think he does have a good chance of stopping a David Lemieux. But fight's not happening. Cotto's fighting Saddam Ali, we feel. And there's a lot of fights coming in December. You got Spence against Peterson. You got Cotto versus Saddam Ali. They're saying this Broner versus Matisse fight, which is a hell of a fight. That's going to be a good fight as well. So you got a lot of fights at the end of the year coming up as well. All right, guys. Keep sending in your questions. I'm going to do my best to go ahead and answer them for you. I'm going to go ahead and look up here and see what other questions we've gotten in. Boxing Now wants TV networks to bring back The Contender. He works out with two guys that were on it. Rocky Esposito thinks Lampley is too biased. If he was more objective, he would be better. Cole Matsuda, what do you think of Boo Boo Andrade, and do you think he could beat the Charlos? That's a tough fight. Really tough fight. Boo Boo is an excellent fighter. So good, in fact, that no one wants to fight him because it's too high of a risk for too low of a reward, given that Boo Boo doesn't have that big of a name. Even though I feel he should, but he just hasn't been active enough, to be honest, man. He can't get a fight, which sucks because he's fucking good. Kid got skills, you know, but you just got to keep this guy active. But I think it'd be an excellent fight. I think it'd be a 50-50 fight. Just trying to, like, visualize the fight in my head. It'd be a very close competitive fight. Very close competitive fight.
There's so much work there to be done. You're tired, dirty, you've got suit all over you. I mean, I'm wearing a face mask and it still smells awful here.
Kyle Price, do you think Billy Joe Saunders will ever fight Golovkin? It's possible. It's possible, but I don't think it'll happen anytime soon because if Golovkin goes into this rematch with Canelo in May and say, either way, I think we're going to get a third fight, to be honest. Say Canelo wins, he's going to want a rematch. I mean, Golovkin's going to want a rematch. Canelo might make him wait for a while, but I think eventually he will get a rematch because Golovkin will say, hey, I beat you the first time, and you know I beat you the first time. You got me the second time. We got to do the third fight. If Golovkin wins this fight, you bet your ass they're going to do a third fight because there's going to be something working into the contract that makes it for an immediate rubber match between the two. Either way, I think we're going to get 3 fights out of both Canelo and Golovkin. And then after that, depends, you know, these series of fights could actually end up being the last fights of Golovkin's career. If he beats Canelo, you know, I would not be surprised if Gennady Golovkin retires. Or he could go into that Billy Joe Saunders fight if he pays Charlo the step-aside money to go and do that, though. I don't know. Charlo's is mandatory, and that's a really tough fight for anybody in that division. Jamal Charlo, man, that kid got so much skills. He's so damn good, and he has a shotgun-like jab. He has power. He's technically sound. Just the fundamentals on that kid is high level. The only question I have is, how will he do against a guy that's on him? Consistent pressure. 12 rounds. Just punching him. That even with Charlo's best punches, he's still coming forward and putting that pressure on. I want to see where he's at in terms of an opponent like that, where he's at right here. That's where I want to see. I also want to know what this is all about right here. If he could take punches from big middleweights as well. DJ Gons. What's your prediction on the Bisping versus GSP fight coming up? We actually talked about that, man, about 20 minutes ago. So you can go back when we're done with the stream. But quickly, really, I just have a lot of questions about George, where he's at this point of his career. He's a smaller fighter going up against a bigger fighter in Bisping, who I feel is faster, more versatile on the stand-up. I want to see really if George St. Pierre is going to be able to take down Bisping, because Bisping has excellent takedown defense. And if he's going to be able to keep Bisping down, that's the key. Can he keep Michael Bisping on the ground and work his ground and pound and just be a wet blanket on him and win in usual George St. Pierre fashion? If you can't keep him down, it's going to be a stand-up fight. And even there, George does have advantages. He has an excellent jab, but I think his reach is not as long as Bisping in terms of both his arms and his legs. So it's it could be a disadvantage there for him as well. Rocky Esposito, the one, because he is handful, bro. Risford, no idea what you're saying. Okay. What's up with Lara? Why can't he get a decent fight? Because Lara's good, man. He's a very difficult style. Not a lot of people want to fight him because of that, because he has a difficult style. And some people will say, like, oh, he's a boring fighter. He just runs, But, hey, if you're fighting a guy like Erislandy Lara, it's your job to make him not run then. Like, cut the ring off them. It's your job. That's why you went into camp for 6 weeks for a guy like him. You would study how to cut the ring off. It's your job. You're supposed to make him stop from running. It's not his fault. He's going to fight his fight. That's how he wins. It's your job to not make him fight his fight. Do your prep work. Do your preparation. You're studying to stop a fighter like that from what many people say running. I like to call boxing what boxing's all about. Hit, not get hit, move in and move out. So what do you guys think? That's what I'm just saying about that. Eloy Seca, how come everybody says Triple G to move to fight better opposition but not Erislandy Lara? It's a good question. Erislandy Lara fight would look very similar to what happened with Canelo, to be honest. Lara doesn't throw a lot of punches either compared to Canelo. So it would be a similarly close fight, to be honest. And a fight, though, I'd want to see. I think a fight that would answer a lot of questions about Golovkin in terms of, can he handle a slick southpaw type fighter that moves around, that's elusive and defensive in there. I don't think he's ever really fought someone like that. They try to make the comparison with Willie Monroe, but I don't think he's the same caliber as Erislandy Lara, to be honest. Not really, because Angulo made him look like crap. Angulo made Hulu. Oh, well, yeah, but that's the other. That's the okay. Look at what Angulo did against Erislandy Lara. When people say, "Oh, all this guy does is run," Angulo cut the ring off, stopped him from moving as much. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a guy fighting a guy who moves around a lot. It's your job to make him not move a lot. So put the blame on the opponent, not the guy who's moving around, because the guy that's moving around is fighting his fight. It's the other guy that should be stopping him from fighting his fight. What's up? You look decent. Hey, Marcos, who do you think would win out of a Sean Porter and Danny Garcia fight? And do you think Gervonta Tank Davis is ready to take on Lomachenko? And I know this is quite off topic. Oh, wow. This fucking guy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let's remove that comment. Boom. You fucking guys. Look at you fucks. Sorry for about cussing. This is live, though. This is how I talk. Porter versus Danny Garcia, I'll answer that. I think it's a tough fight for Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia doesn't throw a lot of punches. I think Porter's going to smother him, land a lot of punches, be really, really active, really push the pace. And it could be a fight that's a split decision fight where the judges are trying to make their decision based on what they like, their preference. Do they like the guy that was more active, that brought the fight forward, that through volume, or do they like the guy that landed the lesser punches but the cleaner, more effective punches in the fight? I'd prefer Porter in that fight, to be honest. All right, guys. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. Go ahead and follow us on social media. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at FightUpTV. And I control the account, so yeah, I could claim that I am at FightUpTV because I own FightUpTV. So yeah, at Hey It's Marcos V for Instagram, and the tweets on the Twitterverse. Fire's still going on in Canyon Country. Sky's still red over here in Southern California. All right, guys. Guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'm gonna allow one more question. So please feel free to put your questions in, and I'm gonna pick the best one. Let's see here. Eloy Ceja. Tank ain't ready for Lomachenko, and he has trouble to make 130. Well, if he goes up to 135, he won't be able to fight Lomachenko because Lomachenko's at 130. Lomachenko has this fight, though, with Guillermo Rigondeaux. Tough fight, man. I'm planning on being there for that fight. It's on a Friday, which is cool because finally I get to enjoy a day free over there in New York. It's going to be cold as hell, though. It's a really tough fight. Lomachenko versus Gervonta, you would think that Lomachenko would be the favorite in that fight, given just the pedigree, the technique, the speed, the footwork. But you can't count Gervonta Davis out. He's a big puncher, man. Big puncher. And if he lands a series of punches, he'll put anybody out, regardless of how much skill they have, So I want to see it, but I want to see this Lomachenko-Guillermo Rigondeaux fight a lot more. What boxer that you've met seems down to earth and cool as fuck? The one asks. A lot of them are cool as fuck, man. I want to say majority of them are really, really nice people, to be honest. When you really get to talk to them and know them as people, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Even the ones that seem kind of standoffish, not as media friendly. When the cameras are off and you're around them in a real life situation, they're cool guys. Case in point, Terrence Crawford, coolest freaking guy in the world when he's away from the camera. This last fight in Las Vegas for, I believe, Canelo and Triple G. I saw a whole different side of Terrence Crawford that I've never seen before. And I was just like, holy crap, this guy's a cool freaking guy. He was joking around with everybody, making jokes, just being a normal dude, talking about fights, talking about Mayweather-McGregor fights, talking about wrestling. Like, I was just like, wow, like, where did this come from, man? I wish I could have showed that personality, how he really is to you guys and stuff, So, because I know he gets a bad rap about not being very media friendly or good on camera, but I think I'm feeling that's going to change now. I think more of his personality is finally getting to come out. He's more comfortable. He's not as nervous in front of the camera, so that's good to see because he's a really cool guy, to be honest. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the live chats. We've been live for 1 hour. Thank you guys for tuning in and speaking with us here today. And I just want to go ahead and remind you guys to follow us on social media at FightHubTV, at Hey It's Marcos V, at Hey It's Marcos V, at FightHubTV. Go ahead and give us a follow on both our social media channels. We're going to go ahead and be covering this Mares versus Gutierrez and Santa Cruz versus Avalos fight card this week, starting on Wednesday through Saturday. There's a fight at the StubHub Center on Fox. This is your chance, guys, to go to the StubHub and watch some dope-ass fights, because this is one thing that I'm confident in saying. Regardless of who it is, regardless of if it's a name or not, when you see a fight at the StubHub Center, it's the absolute best freaking place to watch a fight at. Absolutely best place. There's just, I can't explain it. There's just something there that ends up making for really great fights. The best fights I've ever seen in person have been at the StubHub Center. Some of the most dramatic moments in a boxing fight that I've ever witnessed personally with my own eyes have happened at the StubHub Center. Bradley Provodnikov, Rios Alvarado, Chocolatito getting knocked out, the tribute to Ali. Who else fought over there? It was a great freaking fight. Man. Guerrero versus the Japanese guy was an excellent fight. Humberto Soto versus Brandon Rios, excellent fight. That place has gotten Alberto Ortiz. Yeah, part 2. It's cheap. Tickets are really cheap, and the seats, you can't beat the seats. Any seat in that arena is an excellent seat. So if you have a chance to go this weekend, it's happening in Carson, California. If you live here in Southern California, go to this fight. Trust me, there's never a bad fight at the StubHub Center. Never, ever have I witnessed a really bad fight at the StubHub Center when it's the main eventers. So take advantage of it because there's just something special about that venue with that fight. That venue when it comes to fights. So, all right, you guys, if you guys see me during fight week or at the fight, say hi to me. Just take a picture. We'll post it up on the Fight Up TV account. We unleashed an unboxing finally for the first time in a while. I unboxed something a little bit different, the Marvel vs. Capcom collector's box, which I was disappointed about. Spent $200 for that thing, but you could watch my disappointment live and on camera if you go to youtube.com/FightHub and watch it. We're gonna have other unboxing videos coming out. One next weekend, I believe on Sunday. We will have the gloves that Conor McGregor used in his fight with Mayweather. That will be the next unboxing, the Everlast Power Lock Pro, but the color scheme, the colors, the glove that Conor McGregor used. And also we'll be uploading I'm gonna check my computer. Might upload a video, might not. It's 5:34. Might be able to upload a video with Freddie Roach that we did a while back, but it's the full interview. But nevertheless, we got a lot of videos coming your way this week. Look out for the unboxing video next Sunday. And go ahead and take a look at the recent unboxing video that we did as well that we released on Saturday, the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Box. Current videos on the channel right now that are getting a lot of talk, a lot of play. Vitaly Klitschko saying that he wants to get revenge for his brother, but he can't do it right now, but he has a feeling that he would knock out Anthony Joshua. What else? We got videos with Richard Schaefer. Let's see here. Another video we have with the Charlo, Jermell Charlo, talking about how people are telling his brother, or no, that actually Gennady Golovkin told his brother he hasn't fought enough, and he's making the argument that his brother's the #1 contender. Gennady Golovkin should be fighting against Jermell Charlo. We got a quick little snippet of Charlo working out. We got Regis Prograne talking about Terence Crawford, Victor Postal talking about Terence Crawford, Jacobs at Luis Arias press conference video. So we got a lot of stuff. Oh, Hate Bellew too. We got video from there as well. We got Tony Bellew saying he's going to draw the curtain on David Hayes' career, and we got press conference videos of that as well. So, and so Robinside on the channel up right now. YouTube.com/FightUp. If you're watching us for the first time, thank you so much for viewing. We appreciate it. Please subscribe. You guys, please do me a huge favor. Spread the word about the channel. Get your friends that are not subscribed to subscribe to us. Please continue making us the most subscribed to boxing channel on all of YouTube and the second most subscribed to combat sports channel in all of the YouTubes. MMA Fighting has the #1 spot, but we're like in the same family with SB Nation, so don't really count that as like like we got to get to them because we're on the same thing. So hey, you look decent, man. Thank you for being a longtime supporter since 2012. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, we made it through Monday. Well, kind of almost, but you guys are just getting off work. And if you're watching this right now, I hope you had a productive Monday. Here's to a productive rest of the week. Be good to each other, positive thoughts, and just really look out for each other as well. There's been a lot of fucked up shit that have happened in the world in the past few weeks. So please look out for one another, man. A smile, a hello can go a long way when it comes to people. All right, guys. God bless. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a good night.